What's up, everybody? It is Sanchez 405. Welcome back to On the Warpath. If you're new, make sure you subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications anytime there's new content posted. And as always, like, comment, share this video out because we've got another special guest from ABC7. Mr. Scott Abraham is here with us, and we're going to talk Washington football. Scott, it is a pleasure to have you on here, sir. How you doing?
My guy, Corey, really appreciate you having me on. Looking forward to this chat, my friend.
Yes, sir. I'm looking forward to it. And we've had this in the works for a little bit, and I had my calendar marked out. And Scott is the first person to follow up with me. He's like, hey, we still doing this? I said, all right now. He taught me a lesson without even realizing that.
I'm ready. I had it on my calendar. I was all looking forward to it. I wanted to make sure you weren't going to big time me and cancel on me. So I'm glad you delivered.
No, the market that you talk to, my friend, I can't do that. So, but we'll hop into a graduate of Syracuse, you're an Orangeman, and the small town guy, from what I understand. Yeah. And through my research, I know why you're a sports reporter, because you said there's a quote on your desk that you live by. And what's that quote?
Nobody will outwork me. You know,
that's right.
I have a post-it note that just says, nobody will outwork, nobody can outwork you. And that's kind of my ethos in a sense of work ethic and the grinding mentality. And it's just one simple post-it note. Nobody will ever outwork me. And if at the end of the day, I get beat by a story or I get beat by somebody on a certain interview, and I know I gave it all I got and I worked hard, I can live with that. But I wouldn't be able to live with it if I knew I could have done more. So,
right.
Just simple words. Nobody will ever outwork me.
Man, I love it. And we'll get right into it and talking about somebody who had to outwork everybody and outwork expectations. Alex Smith announced his retirement from the National Football League here on Monday, I do believe, via Instagram, his only Instagram post so far. And Liz posted up first as well. So pretty much, and I believe you were there that day, all that went down. Just kind of talk about the story of Alex Smith and, from that point in that November in 2018 to really going back to the field against the Rams earlier this in 2020. Just talk about what you saw from a reporter standpoint.
Yeah, Corey. I mean, you knew it wasn't good that day against the Houston Texans, and you could hear a pin drop. It was silent, and you figured it was a severe knee injury, pretty bad knee injury, probably done for the season. But the whole element of, the infection and the flesh-eating bacteria, that just changed everything. And us reporters, we didn't really know until after the fact of how serious this was. And it really kind of brought to light by the excellent reporting by ESPN and E60, that Project 11 piece that really showed exactly, Corey, what he went through in those graphic pictures, and just getting to know Alex and his makeup and what he's all about. So inspiring, man. And what he went through to kind of get himself off the canvas, live a normal life, play with his kids in the backyard, go chasing them around. That would have been enough for me. I mean, I could go off in the sunset, be happy, but he had that inner drive to want to get back on that field and prove to himself, and I guess prove to the doubters, not really knowing if there were doubters out there, but that he could go back out there and play meaningful football again. And by golly, he did. The Washington football team, Corey, would not have won the NFC East Division title without Alex Smith, period. He stabilized that position after the mess with Dwayne Haskins. And I was there on that day. It was pouring outside against the Rams when Kyle Allen got hurt. And here comes Alex Smith running on the sidelines. I was nervous, and I was really nervous after that first sack by Aaron Donald when he hopped on his back. And I was like, oh my gosh, because this is a 300-pound dude jumping on his back with that knee, and you didn't know how it was going to react. And he got right back up, smile on his face, kind of probably felt good to get hit. And, he wasn't great, but he wasn't bad. He stabilized the position. He did enough for Washington to win these games. You had the Washington defense that really carried this team during that stretch against Pittsburgh, San Francisco. And he was a game manager, didn't make mistakes. And, hats off to him. And it's unfortunate in a way where it kind of ended. It seems like there was kind of a bad taste between Washington, the franchise, and Alex of, did they really want me? Did they kind of push me out the door? Kind of sad in a way, but I'm happy he's on to the next chapter, living his life with his family, his beautiful wife, his children. I know they're going to be in Hawaii a bunch, kind of enjoying the second part of his life. And what a story. One of the greatest comeback stories of all time, Corey. And NFL Comeback Player of the Year. Hopefully they do the right thing and name that award after Alex Smith.
Exactly.
So I enjoyed working with him for a couple of years here in Washington. I have nothing but good things to say about him. Inspiring, a gentleman on and off the field, Alex Smith.
Yeah. And from a fan's perspective, I mean, you're like, hey, this is a great story. And, it seems like from GQ, SI today, it's been like a little bit of a damper on there. And, I've even said, like, it's like beating a dead horse now. A good story doesn't have to have villains in it. And I think that's what it feels like some people are trying to do, whether they're trying to turn the team or not Dan, but Ron into these villains. Yeah, you got to realize Ron was facing his own demons with the cancer treatment. And, but both guys are inspiring to me. And I think they're both heroes. And, nobody would have thought he was going to come back.
And listen, at the end of the day, Corey, the NFL is a business.
That's right.
And tough decisions have to be made. And unfortunately, they felt like Fitzpatrick, Heineke, Kyle Allen give them the best chance to win in 2021. And they respect what Alex Smith did for them. And they know, trust me, they know they would not have won the division title without Alex Smith. So he did what he had to do. Yep. Unfortunately, they have to part ways. In terms of Ron Rivera, listen, Ron was reminding the media very early on in May, in OTAs, in mini camps, don't forget about Alex Smith. Don't forget about Alex Smith. He was always talking about Alex Smith when it came to quarterbacks and who's going to be the starting quarterback. And he always made sure Alex Smith was still in that conversation. And he got his opportunity, he got his chance, and he made the most of it.
Yeah, and it's kind of interesting you talk about like what Ron was bringing up. I'm a big press conference junkie, so when I'm at work, I'm usually got that playing on in the background.
You like my questions, don't you? I go right at it.
Oh God, I love. Hey Ron, I know it's October, but it's Scott Abraham from ABC 7 News. But you and Chris Russell, I'm like, Ron knows who he is. But,
yeah.
But and I'll give you two things on that one with Ron and cover on the press conference. You almost jinxed the team. You almost jinxed the team back in December.
Can I tell you a funny story with that?
Go ahead.
So you obviously are well aware. It was during a press conference, and I asked him, Washington is one of the few teams in the NFL without a positive COVID test. And Ron said, Abraham, you just jinxed us.
Right.
Just jinxed us. And Corey, the very next Monday,
Ionitis.
They got popped with ionitis with the positive COVID test. Funny story. I'm on when this story breaks with a positive COVID test. I'm on the phone with one of my producers. Hey, we got to get this up on the website. This is pretty big news. This is what we're gonna do. And then all of a sudden, I have an unknown number beeping in on my phone. I'm like, I got to take this phone call. So I click over. I'm like, hi, this is Scott Abraham. Hello, Scott. This is Ron Rivera. And
go ahead, Ron.
I'm silent for probably 10 seconds. Ron lets out this big belly laugh and just starts giggling and cackling. He's like, I told you, Abraham, you were going to jinx us. I told you. So that was that was a pretty fun experience with Ron having some fun with me and just giving it to me a little bit. So that's a little fun backstory there.
Yeah, that was and then how you took it on the chin like a champ. You just like I think you all had put it on Twitter, and I was like, that's a champ right there. Scott's a champ. He just took that in stride. But and we kind of moved back.
I want to tell you, I've never told that story, by the way, Corey. So that's an exclusive on the Warpath. So when you send out your teaser videos, there you go. I've never told that story publicly.
Hey, there we go. That will be the clip that I put on Instagram later. And just kind of briefly, you came to the market in 2016, so you did get to see this other guy who announced retirement, Jordan Reed. And I always
briefly for a couple of years. I saw him in Washington, but he was never on the field when I was here. Unfortunately, a lot of concussions, a lot of injuries, and again, a guy that showed glimpses, Corey, of being a dominant tight end in the NFL, and it's just unfortunate the physicality of this sport kind of caught up with him.
And that's I think it was, we saw the talent there, but I always say it's unmaximized talent or unrealized talent that he had because he just couldn't get that body of work. 15 had that big season, 16 the Thanksgiving game in Dallas, all that, but unfortunately his health, I think, is more important than at the end of the day. It's a business, but it's also a game, and he's got kids and he's going into his 30s. So,
you don't mess around with concussions.
No, absolutely not. Another, I guess, a blip on the radar screen. A lot of people have held players who never seem to get on the field. I think Bryce Love is one of them. And just to see, we thought this kid may come back and everything like that. And I don't know. We don't know a lot about him, but just talk about maybe like what you all in the media maybe have saw out of him and his rehab process. Did you think he may have gotten a chance or just wasn't there?
Corey, I tell you, I mean, I was, going in training camp, I was really excited about Bryce because he looked great. And I mentioned it multiple times on our broadcasts. Keep your eye on Bryce Love because remember the whole Darius Geis situation, and they needed another running back to step up. And obviously with I think they cut AP, remember, as well in training camp. So they were kind of thin at running back, figuring out who would be the guy. There's Gibson and McKissick. And I was like, don't forget about Bryce Love. And, he had a couple setbacks with that ACL. And my goodness, I think Washington used a 4th-round draft pick on him, if I'm not mistaken. And he didn't play a single snap in Washington. Granted, it's not Rivera's fault because remember, it was an old regime, the Gruden era, that drafted Bryce Love. So it's a tough situation where you're going into a new coaching staff and maybe you just don't fit in what they're trying to do. And I think that's ultimately the casualty of Bryce Love here in Washington, where he just didn't necessarily fit in what Scott Turner and Rivera were trying to do.
I mean, I thought if he had a chance to work with Randy Jordan, and what Randy does is work with versatile backs. We saw it, Giovanni Bernard when he was at North Carolina, and then these guys this past season. I would have loved to seen that, but like you said, injuries caught up. Injuries, he could never shake that. So, and I'll go before we get to the ad nauseum draft talk. I'll give you one.
It is ad nauseum, right?
It's at a high right now.
I know.
What in the ham sandwich, I always ask this, is going on with number 75? Do you think he wants to be here? Is it just?
I hope he wants to be here because Brandon Scherff is a key cog on this offensive line and for the future of this franchise. All pro talent, Pro Bowl talent, one of the best guards in the National Football League. I don't know what is going on in terms of why they can't come to a long-term deal. You know what it reminds me of, Corey? It reminds me of Kirk Cousins. And in that situation of drawing it out, franchise tag after franchise tag. And I'm fearful that it's going to end up the same way with him potentially going to another team. I hope he doesn't because he is a tremendous talent. and he's good for the locker room. You never hear anything negative about Brandon Scherff. Nothing. He's just a good team player, a good team guy, and a pivotal piece on that offensive line. So I wish I had the answers. He's playing on that 1-year tag, and you got to hope they figure something out because you don't want to see Scherff walk out that door.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of at the point. I'm in the middle right now, man. I'm just like the injuries. I know he's had his past. I know what it is.
No
like
way.
we always forget. We forget the human aspect of it.
He's a
the
warrior.
Leadership.
He battles. I'm telling you, he is a stud. You don't want to see him walking.
Okay. Hey, y'all heard that from Scott. You heard him. The warrior. Don't want to see him walk.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about the draft, and there has been so many things about Washington maybe trading up. So I'll ask you a 2-part question here. 1, do you think Washington will trade up? And 2, should they trade up? If they either or answer, should they trade up? And what position would you trade up for, or would they only trade up for?
No. And they would probably trade up for quarterback, but they better not do it, and I don't think they're going to do it.
My man.
It makes 0 sense to me to bargain your future in terms of draft capital and make an RG3 type move and trade up way up in the draft to get a unproven talent. Look what happened at RG3. Again, he was unproven, and unfortunately injuries caught up to him, and it was never the same here in Washington. They got Fitzpatrick, they got Heineke, they got Kyle Allen. Let's see what 2021 looks like. I know everybody's talking about there's no long-term solution. There's no who's the future quarterback of the Washington football team. I get it. But they're picking number 19. They won the division title last year. They got a lot of good pieces on this football team. A really good defense. They added some great pieces. Curtis Samuel, Adam Humphries, the cornerback, William Jackson. I like what's on this roster right now. You got to see what you have with Fitzpatrick, and you have the 2 young quarterbacks, and Heineke showed he has some good 5 quarters in him. What else does he have? Does he have any more magic? If you go up and draft another quarterback, where's he going to go? You already got 3 pretty good quarterbacks on your roster. It just doesn't make sense this year, Corey. I think you'll have some more clarity after 2021. You don't want to, bargain your future in draft capital for an unproven talent. And who knows, maybe there'll be another Matthew Stafford type situation where a veteran quarterback is on the free agent market next year. You don't know what's going to happen in a year from now. So I think you hold pat at number 19. You address a need in terms of offensive tackle or a linebacker at number 19. Maybe you draft a quarterback later in the draft. But again, I'd be surprised there, even if they draft a quarterback in the later rounds. So you're staying pat at 19. You don't trade up. I don't think they're going to trade back. I think they're set on a linebacker or a tackle. If I was a betting man, because of the defensive background with Jack Del Rio and the defensive background with Ron Rivera, I think they're going to go linebacker.
Yeah, I think I like that because you need to give these guys linebacker gurus, and they didn't have their linebacker they can mold and make into the staple. Didn't have his Luke Kuechly, right? So I like linebacker, and this is a deep linebacker draft. We talk at the top. Micah Parsons is probably the clear-cut number 1.
I think the Notre Dame dude could be a
JOK.
Yep, JOK. I think the Penn State guy will go before 19, Parsons. But I think the Notre Dame dude, JOK, could be there at number 19. Again, draft night, Corey. Anything can happen. There's so much drama. There's so much excitement. So really, Washington's probably going to react to what goes on in front of them. So they have their board set. They kind of have a plan, but that plan could be blown up really quickly by what happens in front of them.
Yeah. That was kind of interesting that I don't know if you saw that leak on Twitter or if it was a leak, because Belichick may have found social media, but they were talking about Jordan Love getting traded to New England as one of the options on those cards. So it's really involved, and I don't we on the surface we don't see the depth of the process and everything that goes into it. We just think it's put the card up there, but there's a reason why they have 15 minutes, 10 minutes to make a pick, because they're going through every doggone scenario.
Because, right, I mean, who knows? Your guy that you want could be picked right before you. You have to react to what happens as literally it's just, you have to adjust on the move.
That is draft night in the can, and we will be here next week. The draft on, you all will have it locally up there on
we got it's
on ABC.
It's a big week for us. We're looking forward to it because, like you said, we have all the rounds in the draft on ABC here up in DC, and we have a lot of local prospects, local student athletes that are born and raised here in the DMV that are probably going to have their name called. So we're actually featuring them in various segments and spotlights leading up to the draft next week. So it's really a big week for us. We're excited.
Yeah, can't wait to see some of that on. I can't wait to see it online. But I'll give you one thing. You talked about a local guy and a former number 1 pick for Washington, Brian Orakpo, came out and said that, hey, Chase Young reminds me a lot of me when I played. Do you see a correlation there, or anything that you may have seen? You see the correlation?
I think Chase is much more athletic.
Right.
I think Orakpo was power, strength, punch in the mouth. I think Chase has a little bit of athleticism. You look at that fumble return, for a touchdown. He looked like a puma picking up a piece of meat and just running it back to the house. So I think Chase has a motor. He's fast. He's just so athletic. He is so athletic for a big dude. And I look at Orakpo and I think maybe Brian was a little bit more power, strength, punch in the face, as I mentioned. So I see the similarities, but I go with the athletic edge to Mr. Chase Young. So I apologize for that, Mr. Orakpo, if you're watching.
We'll bill it to him. But I don't think Chase is going to deal with cupcakes in it later on after football. But
I'll eat your cupcakes, Brian. Don't worry. You can send your cupcakes to me. I got to work on the dad bod.
There you go. So I'll move away from Washington football, and we got a few more minutes here, but some cool things happening in DMV now, letting fans back into the stadium after all this COVID. And I mean, COVID's still out there and everything, but what was it like to be at that Wizards game last night and have fans actually in there responding to a resurgent team in Washington right now?
Yeah, great game, great atmosphere, and it felt a little bit like normalcy. The last couple of weeks I went to the first Nats game with the fans, and DC United had fans back this weekend, and now the Wizards' turn. The Capitals are next week, so it's just that adds a whole nother element, that fan noise and the excitement, just the relief of almost being back inside a stadium and watching a team that you've watched and cheered for so long, for so many years, and it was taken away from you, and you could only scream and yell on the TV or on streaming on your computer or phone, and finally you were able to get back inside the arena and have your voice heard, and it made a difference because that fourth quarter, they really got into it, and the Wizards kind of used that momentum and used that energy to have a really big win against Golden State. And right now, if the season ended right now, Washington would be in the play-in tournament. So a resurgent, as you mentioned, Wizards team. They got 14 games left. Let's see if they can hold on and make a run at this thing.
Playoffs. And you talk about just seeing it, and you could tell when that crowd noise was fed in there, and it would just be very eerie and awkward. And as far as from where you are in your perspective, what has it been like not being able to go into the locker rooms and being close contact? Talk about it.
With a capital S. Stinks. I am so sick of Zoom. I'm so sick of Skype. It is, it's really critical for our job in the media to develop that rapport, the relationships, getting to know the guys and coaches. Corey, you can't do that through Zoom. You know, it's so hard going through a video screen, and you miss that, you know, the interaction and the one-on-ones, and it's been tough. It hasn't been a lot of fun. Just trying to make the best, you know, gives you lemons, so you got to make lemonade type deal, and you try to reinvent yourself and try to be creative. And I think we're doing the best we can, but I am ready for that locker room door to be open, and I can finally talk to the players and mingle with the players and chop it up with Rivera. You know, that's how you really develop that rapport and relationship for our job.
Right. Yeah, I imagine that it's been difficult, but I commend all of you all in the media in DC for what you guys are doing, and I don't see a quality drop off, and I'm not saying it just because you're on here, but I think you all bring high quality stuff all the time, and you know, it's been great to connect with folks like yourself and talking about like your situation. I don't know if anybody's ever asked you like how is it covering in a COVID world? Yeah.
And I think part of it's, Corey, is like I love my media brethren, and we push each other in a sense. You know, there's a competition, right? You know, and we're not athletes, but it's our competition to try to get the big interview or get the best quote or ask the best question in the press conference. And that's how we push each other and how we get better and how we get quality content for our viewers and readers. So it's one kind of a big fraternity and you know, sorority in a sense, because there's a lot of women as well on the beat. So it's been really enjoyable in a sense. You know, even though we can't be with each other face to face, we still, you know, have some fun on these Zoom press conferences with each other.
Yeah. And another funny story I asked, how in the world did you get to hold Adam Eaton's baby and do an interview and get to talk about that? Was a funny thing during the Nationals World Series part. Just talk about.
So we're Nationals World Series parade, and I had the opportunity to be on one of the double-decker buses with the players going down Constitution Avenue, and during one of our live broadcasts, one of our live shots, Eaton and I decided to have some fun, and he cracked open a bottle of champagne. But the one problem is he had his baby in one hand and the champagne bottle in the other hand. He's like, "This is too difficult. Scott, you hold the baby." So I held the baby, and he chugged champagne live on TV. So that was a first for me to hold somebody else's baby while he participated in drinking some alcohol. So it was the video went viral, and a lot of fun feedback on that. So that was a memory I'll never forget with Adam Eaton.
Oh, that's awesome. But Scott, man, this has been a blast. I appreciate you coming on here. Yeah. Do you have any projects, anything you want to plug?
No, I mean, you mentioned it with a big week ahead for us with the draft. So it's one of our Super Bowls because the draft is on ABC and it's kind of our baby. And we're going to have great coverage all week long leading up to it during the draft. Like I said, exclusive interviews with the various draft prospects locally. You know, we're going to have those picks and the results in a sense of who the Washington picks and getting interviews with those individuals after the draft. So, we got you covered online, digitally, Twitter, Facebook, and of course on ABC7.
Yeah. One more thing, because you said the Washington and you didn't fill out the name. Do you have a name of interest that you like, or you just like, just name it?
I mean, the Washington football team's kind of grown on me.
Yeah.
But I understand from a marketing aspect and kind of generating extra revenue, you kind of have to have a mascot or some sort of mascot. So I wouldn't mind Red Wolves. Warriors is okay. You know, I know there's a lot of different names out there, and what I do like, Corey, is I like the fact that they're taking their time.
Yes.
They're not rushing this. They know how serious and how important this decision will be. So I give a lot of credit to Jason Wright and company for taking their time, being patient, doing the research, and doing different ways of kind of collecting that information they need to make a sound decision. So I applaud them from that. Take their time, and we'll see what happens in 2022 when they so-called plan to announce the new direction and the new name.
Methodical things that had not happened until July of last year. This team taking their time to do the right thing. And Scott, I appreciate you.
Yeah, the team's going in a good direction. I mean, you think about how far they've come in a year, Corey.
Oh, yeah.
This franchise has come a long way, and the doom and gloom days hopefully are a thing of the past, and there's light, there's hope. And I feel the energy from this fan base, and I feel it from Rivera and the players. It's a new era, and I'm really excited about 2021 and in years to come covering this team.
All right, hey, that's awesome. Scott Abraham, he's gotten us a World Series championship, a Stanley Cup, WNBA, and he's got us a Valor.
We're waiting for a Super Bowl.
We're waiting for the Super Bowl. If anybody can deliver it, Scott Abraham can, because the teams have been winning a lot since 2016, since you got into the market, sir. Yep. I appreciate you. Check him out on WJLA Channel 7 in DC. You can get him online too. Follow him on Twitter. Follow him on Instagram. He's a great follow. Great guy. Man stood up to John Wall one time too. Don't forget that. As always,
that's another story.
Hey,
that's for next time.
That's for next time. But that's a good story, and that's why I got so much respect for you. But y'all, I'm Sanchez 405 with Scott Abraham. Love, peace, and hail, and we'll be talking to you real soon. I'm out, y'all.